Vikings, they weren't just muscle-bound warriors swinging swords and axes, though they certainly did raid with style. Their culture was also rich in unexpected customs and intriguing traditions, and we're counting them down one by one. Get ready to reimagine everything you thought you knew about these fabled northern adventurers. Number 10. Horned helmets? Not exactly. Let's start with a classic pop culture image. The Viking wearing a helmet adorned with massive horns, stomping around in the snow. Truth is, there's very little evidence to suggest real Vikings wore horned helmets. Most archaeologists think that horns would have been more of a liability in battle. The entire look of horned helmets was likely invented much later by artists aiming to make Vikings seem more fearsome. Sure, ceremonial headpieces existed, but giant horns for warfare? Probably not happening. So if you ever see a Viking on a costume set wearing horns, remember, you're looking at fiction more than fact. Yet this myth adds to their larger-than-life reputation, so we can see why it stuck around. But from this point forward, you can officially set the record straight. Number 9. Incredible hygiene habits. It might be surprising to learn that these rugged warriors who braved the open seas actually put a lot of care into cleanliness. Archaeological digs have uncovered combs, razors, tweezers, and even ear cleaners made from animal bones. In fact, some accounts say Vikings would bathe at least once a week, way more frequently than many other Europeans of that era. Cleanliness wasn't just about feeling fresh. It helped ensure better health, and was also a sign of social standing. If you had a well-groomed beard and hair, you were seen as more respectable within your community. So next time you imagine a Viking, think of a well-groomed explorer who probably smelled way better than popular culture might suggest. Number 8. Powerful women leading the way. Forget the stereotype of men dominating every aspect of Viking society. Yes, Viking men sailed off on raids, but women often held significant power at home, sometimes even in leadership roles. Think property rights, divorce rights, and social influence far beyond what other European women typically experienced at the time. Some women also participated in adventurous expeditions, becoming famed explorers themselves. Others were business savvy, managing farms, estates, and even taking charge of voyages. Many historical sagas tell tales of fierce shield maidens, but beyond myths, the reality was that Viking women exercised genuine influence, shaping communities in ways that were advanced for their era. Number 7. Exploration, way beyond Scandinavia. Sure, we know the Vikings explored Iceland, Greenland, and even touched the shores of North America. But did you know that some ventured far into the Middle East and traded all across Europe? They traveled by rivers through Eastern Europe, reaching places as distant as Constantinople, modern-day Istanbul. Their reputation wasn't just about raiding, it was also about forging trade networks for goods like fur, amber, and even slaves across vast distances. These guys were the original global connectors, linking the frigid north with the warmth of the Mediterranean. Wherever they roamed, you'd find Viking ingenuity, fearless explorers who treated every horizon as a new invitation. Next time you think Vikings, imagine them not just in longboats headed west, but also forging alliances and business deals far from home. Number 6. They loved grand feasts and stories. When Vikings weren't busy carving new trade routes or establishing settlements, they were celebrating life in grand style. Feasts often involved roasted meats, hearty ale, and plenty of storytelling by the fire. Oral tradition was a cornerstone of Viking culture. Sagas and skaldic poetry chronicled legendary battles, comedic anecdotes, and heroic deeds, passed down through generations. And these gatherings weren't just about food. They were about forging community ties and sealing friendships. Songs, riddles, and epic ballads filled the air, reminding everyone of shared history and future hopes. In Viking culture, words could be just as powerful as swords. After all, a compelling saga could rally a community or memorialize a fallen hero's legacy. Having fun sailing through these Viking facts? If you're loving this journey, don't drift away. Stick around because we're only halfway through. The next facts are bound to stir your curiosity even more. Number 5. Surprisingly savvy diplomacy. For all their reputations as warriors and raiders, Vikings also knew the art of making peace when it suited them. Plenty of chieftains understood that negotiating treaties could be more profitable in the long run than outright conflict. Some Viking leaders married into local nobility in foreign lands to seal alliances. Others established trade pacts that boosted both sides. In some instances, this diplomacy even led to entire settlements being integrated without violent confrontation. And if a well-negotiated truce gave them ample time to launch a new voyage, even better. The Vikings were masters of flexibility, balancing warlike grit with strategic alliances, which helped them carve an enduring legacy on the global map. Number 4. Runes and cryptic messages. The Vikings had a unique writing system, known as runes. Far from just decorative carvings on stone, these letters were used for everyday items such as marking personal possessions and signing trade goods. Runes held spiritual and symbolic significance too. Some Vikings believed runes could grant protection or cast powerful spells. Reading runic inscriptions can be a bit like unlocking a code. Scholars today sometimes discover hidden messages, poems, or personal notes etched into wood or stone. It all points to a people deeply involved in words and symbols, seeing them as more than just marks. In Viking life, runes were a gateway to both mundane communication and the realm of mysticism. Number 3. Shipbuilding Marvels. Viking ships are rightly hailed as masterpieces of maritime technology. They crafted longboats sleek enough to navigate shallow rivers, but sturdy enough to brave open oceans. The ship's symmetrical design allowed quick direction changes, a massive advantage when you might face sudden storms or need to make a swift getaway. This shipbuilding genius was key to their far-reaching exploration and fearsome raids. While other cultures were often landlocked or less adventurous, Vikings confidently set sail, forging paths as if the sea were their highway. With each new settlement or port, their ships became symbols of both awe and dread, an unmistakable sign that Viking influence had arrived. Number 2. Their mythology shaped their worldview. If you've heard of Thor, Odin, or Loki, you know at least a snippet of Viking mythology. But these gods meant a lot more to Vikings than just bedtime stories. Belief in the afterlife, like Valhalla for the heroic, was woven into their daily lives. To them, existence was an epic tapestry with gods meddling in mortal affairs, bringing about both blessings and chaos. Rituals and sacrifices were ways to keep the cosmic balance in check. Seasonal festivals marked changes in weather, harvest cycles, and the start or end of voyages. Whether you were a fierce warrior or a modest farmer, you lived in a universe where gods might be watching, or even walking among you in disguise. We've uncovered everything from diplomacy to epic feasts, but our final reveal pushes even deeper. It's something that truly underscores the Vikings' complex approach to life, identity, and the afterlife. Number 1. Burial ships for the afterlife. Perhaps the most awe-inspiring custom of all. Some Vikings believed in sending off their prominent figures with ship burials. Yes, entire ships were used as final resting places for chieftains and other high-status individuals. These vessels were filled with possessions, sometimes including animals and, according to some sagas, prized symbolic items, to help them on their journey in the afterlife. Imagine a ship set ablaze or carefully entombed beneath mounds of earth, the soul of a great Viking ready to sail into whatever cosmic battle or bliss awaited. Not every Viking received such a grand farewell, of course, but these rare funeral rituals capture how dramatically they honored their heroes, sealing their feats in eternal legend. And there you have it, a voyage through 10 remarkable facts that shatter the typical image of Vikings as nothing but axe-wielding invaders. From sophisticated diplomacy to high standards of hygiene and even spiritual traditions that reached into the unknown, the Vikings were as layered as they come. If these revelations changed your perspective, let your fellow adventurers know by hitting that like button and sharing this with anyone who still thinks Viking helmets had horns. To keep exploring more amazing corners of history, remember to subscribe and ring that notification bell so you don't miss a single saga. Thanks for watching, and until next time, may your spirit of adventure burn bright.